Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Chrissy and I am the owner of Sugar and Spice Glitter Co. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all how I created my neon smoke tumbler. Now, this tumbler, it turned out so awesome. I am so excited with how she turned out, guys. I'm keeping this cup for myself. This is going to be my own personal cup because just everything about this cup screams Chrissy, screams sugar and spice. I love all the neon colors, and the decal actually says stay true to yourself. And this really resonates with me because I've recently been talking to you guys on my social media accounts about staying true to yourself and making sure that the brand that you're creating, your business that you're creating, is a representation of you and what you are. If you want to see how I created this cup, you're excited about how she turned out, then let's go ahead and jump into today's video. We're gonna get started by prepping the base of our cup. And the tumbler that I'm using for today's tutorial is a 24-ounce straight tumbler. The product I'm using to prep my tumbler is a 3M Scuff-it paint prep gel. You want to wet the base of your cup, add a dollop of product on the scuff pad, and rub that all over the base of your tumbler. This is not only scuffing the surface, but also cleaning it as well. Once I'm done scuffing up the base of my cup, we're going to rinse it off with water, let it fully dry, and then we're going to move on to the next step. Once my cup is fully dry, I'm going to take it outside and we're going to spray paint the base black. Once that's fully covered and we have a nice even coat, we're going to bring that back inside and we're going to let it fully dry. This is what your cup should look like when it's completely dry. Now I'm going to be taking white alcohol ink, and the brand that I'm using is called Liquitex. I purchased this on Amazon and I will have it linked in the description down below as well. For this part of your cup, you want to make sure that you have your 91% alcohol, a few medicine cups, some paintbrushes, and we're going to just use that to create a base on our cup for our smoke effect. Because I'm going to be using fluorescent pigment over this, you want to make sure that you have a white base first so that your pigments will stand out over the white smoky effect that you're going to be creating with the alcohol inks. So I'm just taking a little bit of the alcohol ink and separating it into a small medicine cup. I'm also going to be putting a small amount of 91% alcohol into its own separate medicine cup. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking my watercolor brush. I'm going to dip that into the alcohol ink, and I'm going to just create a squiggly line going down the cup in an angle. And then we're going to start working out those lines. Now, of course, alcohol ink tends to do its own thing, so I am just creating a kind of like a guideline of where I think I want my smoke to go. But you're going to see that the inks kind of tell me where it wants to go. So we're going to see how this goes, and I'm just making squiggly lines around the cup, kind of building a little outline of where I want my smoke to go. And as you can see, a little bit of that ink got away from me. So I take that same watercolor brush and I dip it into the 91% alcohol, and I'm using that to help me blow out the white ink. And as you can see, this ink is really opaque, and a little bit goes a long way. Just look at how much of that ink is blowing out from those little lines that we put down. So right now I'm just dapping in the alcohol ink and swirling it around, trying to create a smoke effect. Now this part is a little bit tedious because it's basically just going back and forth between the alcohol ink and trying to create a smoke effect. Now smoke tends to go up in circles, so that's why I am doing circular motions to create that smoke effect. And you're just going to see me going back and forth, dabbing that alcohol into the alcohol inks and trying to blow it out. There are certain areas where the alcohol ink kind of gets away from me, but I have learned to make it work and let the alcohol inks guide you. So I am going back and forth again between the white alcohol ink and the 91% alcohol and just moving my brush in a circular pattern just to blow it out. Trying to create a smoke effect, so a lot of it is just really going back and forth between the alcohol inks and the alcohol and blowing it out to create that effect. Now we are going to be going over this with fluorescent pigments, so a lot of this is going to get covered and hidden in the fluorescent pigments, but I still do want the white ink to look like smoke because this is going to be the base for our fluorescent pigments. So yeah, I'm just going to be going in again with that 91% alcohol just to continue to blow that out until I am satisfied with how the white alcohol ink looks on the cup. So now that I've used my brush and the alcohol to kind of blow out that alcohol ink, I wasn't really happy with how it was blowing out. So I decided to start using my heat gun. And so what I started to do was really pick up a lot of that alcohol, place it onto the cup, and then quickly grab my heat gun to blow out that ink. This is, in my opinion, making the alcohol ink really look more like a cloud of smoke versus just a bunch of splotchiness on the cup. And if you go too hard, things like that happen. So be careful when you're using your heat gun that it's not applying too much pressure, because instead of moving the ink around gently, it will blow it out and create lines like that did. But here you can see the effect that I'm really going for is starting to come out now that I'm using the heat gun. So the heat gun is working a lot better for the effect that I'm trying to create. So I'm moving that heat gun again in circular motions to help create that circular effect within the smoke. Now that you have an idea for the effect that I'm trying to create, I'm going to speed it up just a little bit here so that we can move on to the next step, which is applying the fluorescent pigments. And here is another good example about the alcohol ink getting away from me, but it actually worked in my favor because I continued on with that line and created another area of that smoky effect, and I really love how it turned out. So that's what I mean about letting the alcohol ink guide you and do its own thing, because most of the time it turns out pretty awesome. So this is what I ended up with when I finished with the white part of my cup. Now we're going to move on and start applying the fluorescent pigments. So now I'm going to be using our fluorescent pigment stacker. This is an OG product that is no longer available on our website, but we will be restocking on our fluorescent pigments. So I'm going to be using our fluorescent pigment stacker. This product is no longer available on the website. It's an OG product, but we will be restocking on our fluorescent pigments in individual jars. So if you are interested in finding out about our restocks, launches, or anything like that, then you definitely want to go ahead and follow me on social media. You can follow me on my Instagram, join my Facebook group. All of those places I announce whenever we have any new products or restocks. All those links will be in the description down below as well, so go ahead and check that out and follow me for all updates. So my first idea was to take a sponge and dip it into the pigments and dab it onto the cup. After a while, I wasn't really liking how it looked, so I ended up going in with the paintbrush and dusting it on the cup instead. An alternative to using fluorescent pigments, if you don't have any fluorescent pigments and you want to recreate this, is using alcohol inks. Now, in my opinion, fluorescent pigments are going to be giving you more vibrant, bright colors. So that's the reason why I decided to go in with the fluorescent pigments. But you can definitely create a similar effect using alcohol inks. You would still lay down your white ink and then go with the color over. But yeah, I decided to go in with fluorescent pigments. So I'm still using the sponge to kind of dab in that color, but in just a little bit, you will see me pick up the paintbrush and we're gonna dust on the rest of these colors. Now, I know it looks messy. You're not really sure where we're gonna go with this cup, but trust me, it all comes together. We're gonna clean up all that excess fluorescent pigment that's on the outside of our smoke lines, and no worries, we're gonna fix it up, I promise. So I know right now it looks like a hot mess, but trust the process, we'll get there. So I'm picking up the paintbrush now and I'm going to use that to sort of dab in the color. Using a paintbrush also is helping me stay inside of those lines, because with the sponge kind of created a big mess. I also like with the dry brush that it packs on the pigment a lot heavier than the sponge was. I felt like the sponge was sort of holding on to the pigment and not really allowing the pigment to sit onto the cup. So I'm taking my brush, I'm dabbing that color in, and we're really packing on that pink, and we're gonna move on to our orange, and then we're gonna go down the rainbow. We're gonna just apply that pigment the same exact way. I'm really trying to get these colors to blend into each other, so we are going to overlay that orange, blend it into the pink as best as we can, and we're going to continue to do that when we move on to the next colors as well. So I'm going to try and speed through this process as well so that it doesn't take up too much time here on this video, but you can pretty much see where I'm going with this cup. We're gonna just continue to blend in and pack that color onto the white area where we have the smoke, and then then we're gonna clean up and finish her off. So I'm gonna just speed through this part right here so you guys can see it, and then we'll move on. So once I was done packing on the color, I go in with a bigger flat brush and I start dusting off all of that excess pigment. That also helps create more of a blend between all of the colors. And you can see now how it really is giving it that smoky effect. Now, with all of that excess pigment that's outside of the area where I want the pigment to be, I'm just taking my watercolor brush, dipping it into a little bit of water, and trying to kind of wash off that excess pigment. Using the brush did help a lot, but I'm also using a rag to try to rub off any excess pigment that may be on my cup, like in areas that I don't want that pigment to be. So once I'm done cleaning off the cup as best as I could, there was still a few areas on the cup that had some excess pigment, and I didn't like how it looked. So I'm going in with an alcohol ink marker, and I'm going to start darkening up that black area where some of the pigment got stained it. So I'm going to show you a little bit now how I go in and kind of fix that. So you can see that there's some areas in between where the smoke is supposed to be and where the black part of the cup is, kind of stained it a little bit. So I go in with that black alcohol ink marker, I just put it where I want it to go, and then I'm taking my that same paintbrush again, dipping it in 91% alcohol and dabbing that into the cup to kind of darken up those areas where I felt I wanted more of that black to stand out. So now that that's done, this is where we're at right now. We're going to let that sit just for a little while, and I am going to take it outside just to seal that all in. We are going to resin over this, but I want to seal it in with a clear sealer so that when I go in over with the resin, we don't move around that pigment as much. So I am going to go in with a really good, generous amount of this Krylon clear sealer. We're going to let that fully dry, and then we can go in with our top coat of resin. Once the cup is fully dry, this is where we're at right now. And I'm going to apply my resin on top of the entire base of the cup. And you can see just how that smoky effect is really showing through now that everything is all settled, dry, and sealed. For the first layer of resin, I'm using Counterculture DIY Fast Set. This is usually cured to the touch within 2 hours. Within 4 hours, you can apply your decal, and then it's fully cured within 24 hours. I'm applying a nice amount all over the entire base of my cup. I believe it was about 20 ml of resin, and I'm just slowly, gently spreading the resin all around to make sure that we get a nice even coat and everything is fully covered. Once we're done applying, we're going to torch it really quick just to get rid of any air bubbles and let that cure. Once the cup has been curing for at least 4 hours, we can go ahead and apply our decal. And the decal that I'm using is from BAMF Custom Creations. These are called STICKERCALs. They're just Tumbler decals, but they're really awesome because you can use them over a white base, a dark base, and she has a bunch of cool and different designs. I really like them because they're easy to apply, easy to use. You can put them on your cup right away. They don't rip, they don't tear, they don't bleed. They're really awesome. So I will have her linked in the description down below so you can check out her website, see all the different designs that she has. Basically what I'm doing is I spritz my cup with alcohol to kind of wet the base. I'm going to apply the decal and I'm going to squeegee out that alcohol from underneath the sticker. This basically helps prevent any air bubbles getting trapped underneath your decal or sticker, and it's a really cool trick that I learned a long time ago. I don't use it often, but decided to use it today so I can share this cool little trick with you guys. But it helps a lot with air bubbles and makes it really easy to apply decals and stickers like this. So now that our cup is ready, we're going to go in with another top coat of resin. This time I've added silver moon dust into my resin to create a nice sparkle effect. Kind of gives this cup like a little bit of a galaxy look. But I love adding silver moon dust to my cups, especially when I'm using cups that don't have any glitter. It really gives it a nice little sparkle. You can see just how much that silver moon dust stands out against the black. I think it really adds just what the cup was missing. And we're gonna apply that resin all over the base of the cup. We're going to let that cure. We're going to go in with another top coat over this entire cup, and then that's it. Once your cup is fully cured, we're done. So this cup in total took 2 coats of resin to completely seal it in. First coat was with the silver moon dust, and then the second final coat just to seal everything in, and we're done. I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Check out the description for all the links to my social media, products, and everything that was used in today's video. Also, I want to say a huge thank you to all of my Patreons. Your monthly contribution means the world to me and this channel. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you in our next video.